most clients, they get real timid when you throw that, that 2350, 2000, $2,500 amount with that machine. And like, whoa, that's a lot.
Welcome back to the Landed Podcast, where the dirt world meets real talk. I'm Josh Thockel, the host of the Landed Podcast, and today I've got the fellas from Bad Hog Land Clearing out of Central Texas. I got Noah and Robert with me here today. They started in 2022 and been building a strong presence focused on forestry mulching, land clearing, site prep, fire mitigation, a number of things, trying to do it the right way. Today, we're going to dive into how they got started. We're going to talk about how they price jobs and what's actually working and not working in the industry. And that's it. And we'll ask some fun questions at the end. But first of all, Noah and Robert, thank y'all so much for being on. Really glad to have y'all.
Yeah, thanks for
for
having
having
us.
us.
Awesome. Yeah. I've been looking forward to this. And first of all, I need to ask, where did the name come from? Because it's one of my favorite names, Bad Hog Land Clearing.
That's actually Robert, so I'll let Robert take that.
Uh, we so we were just spitballing ideas one day, and I don't know. I guess I liked the idea of a hog. How they're always kind of rooting around. They're a little destructive, you
Yeah.
know. I guess
Yeah.
they wallow. They do
Oh, yeah.
what pigs do.
Yep.
And I thought it was fun. I don't know. There's no real story there. I just thought it was cool.
I know. Well, I mean, we got a goat in our name, so I get the whole animal piece.
Yeah.
But I loved it was like, why not go good hog? Why is it bad hog?
I don't know. It just
Got a good ring
no one's
to it.
ever asked
Catchy.
that. Good
It is.
dog.
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole point where I'm asking because it did stick. I mean, I've always loved the name. I thought it was fun. So you guys are working on Bad Hog Land Clearing together. How many years you guys been in business? Tell us how you started. What got you guys into this? Just give us some information, some backstory.
So, me and Robert actually met working for another gentleman who was kind of all over the place when it comes to jobs, and he did have a land clearing division in his company, and that's kind of how me and Robert met. And again, it kind of turned sour. We just didn't kind of agree with kind of the way things were managed, and me and him just doing what two employees do. Bickering to each other, just about how we'd run it differently, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And Robert kind of just led with, well, you want to start a business together? And, during that moment, I was just like, yeah, sure, that'd be great. Yeah, I didn't think anything of it. And then he followed through, a couple days later. He's like, no, I'm very serious. Like, if we want to, do it our way, if we think management's wrong here, why don't we do it the correct way? Just start our own deal. So it's kind of where that happened.
Yeah. Well, what was the incorrect thing? Not that you have to give the details on the company you worked with, but like that, I think that's good to hit on. Like, what was
So,
it that wasn't going right?
and again, I don't want to speak ill on, another company's name by any means, and I'll leave that
Right.
out. But
Right.
it was, us being the employees, we were pretty close in contact with the majority of the clients that we were doing the work for, right? The boss would get the
Mhm.
bids, we'd fulfill the work, and of course, client comes out, says, "Oh, y'all doing amazing things." Well, we, would send in our hours, kind of what we did, and you know, hours weren't matching actually time doing work and billing the client. We were kind of taking the brunt of, or having to face the client saying, "Hey, why am I
Yeah.
getting billed for this?" It's like, well, I'm not the boss first and foremost, so that's a question for him. Come to
Right.
find out, we found out he was falsely billing hours, random
Mm.
things like whether it's just picking up your own trash on a job site, just kind of billing clients just to bill them to,
Yeah.
uh, I guess, keep payroll going for
Yeah. Sure.
his employees. And we felt that was kind
Yeah.
of that's wrong for the client. Client doesn't
Right.
have to eat that. That's a company's problem. You need
Right.
to go find more jobs. If you're the boss,
Mhm.
it's kind of like we are. If we're hurting on money, we need to be proactive, go find new
Right.
jobs, go bid some things, and not just sit there and you know show false hours to a
Right.
client, having them front it because whatever they did to become successful in life.
Yeah. For sure.
So it just
Yeah, that
didn't
makes
sit well
sense.
with us, and so we decided to part ways and do our own thing.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's part of that is just an integrity thing and a cultural thing, like what you guys wanna set for your company versus what you were working for at somebody else's, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, makes sense. So, terms of, like, where you're at as a company, it's been 4 years, right? You guys been doing this 4 years?
It's
Oh,
What's
our
we
fourth
started in
year now.
2022? Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it's 2026, so we're in 4 year. So, what was your first piece of machinery, and what do you have now? What machinery you guys have now?
When we first started out, so of course, I feel like the majority, unless you have some investor involved or you came to some amount of money or felt like having a high note, most people start out renting. So that's what we did. We found the cheapest place to rent, whether it's
Mhm.
renting a
Yeah.
skid steer for $125 a day, which you can only
Yeah,
imagine what kind of machine
Yeah,
that
they
was.
they turn on,
yeah,
but
They do. it
yeah.
you know it, it, it got us
Oh, man.
through.
Gears
um
grinded and everything.
yes.
yes, and so then we finally saved up enough money through the company, had enough jobs, and we bought ourselves it was a Kubota 75-2,
Okay.
and that actually worked for us for the majority. I mean, just that, a grapple, a bucket, and then dudes to the ground with chainsaws. It's just kind of like the what we started with. It's very basic land clearing. If you weren't trying to get the works, but you just had a little parcel and you just wanted to selectively clear it, we'd thin out
Yeah,
all the underbrush, make it look nice and stuff. It's
yeah.
more labor intensive than guys with more badass machines. Um,
Sure.
and so as we started to grow, me and Robert noticed, with this machine, we were trying to get by with it, and we started outgrowing the machine. So probably doing some
Mhm.
practices that most people would be like, oh, I wouldn't do that, and we try to get
Yeah,
by. And we paid the price with you know bad radiator, just putting an implement on there that
yeah,
that machine probably wasn't capable for. And so
yeah.
as we started to evaluate things, kind of we were ahead, and and then us getting in touch with y'all kind of also helped set the tone with this. But we now have a Cat's newest model. It's the 275 XE. It's their land management
Nice,
package. It's
nice.
got all the bells and whistles, enclosed
Yeah.
cab. I mean, it's forestry
Air
mulching head.
conditioning,
Do what?
Oh yeah.
air conditioning.
Oh gosh, heated
Closed
seats. You
cab,
name it. I mean, it's
game changer.
Yeah.
Rolls
Yes.
Royce of
Nice,
machinery.
nice. Yeah, so how'd you make it work when you only had the one machine versus, like, now you got the full Rolls Royce? Like, how has that changed what you guys could do back then and versus what you can do now?
It's just you know, I think Robert can agree to this. Is just we knew we weren't going to have the best tools. We weren't going to be able to
Yeah,
compete with guys who have the brand new machines. So what
yeah,
do you do with that? You work harder. It's a little bit more, put a little more sweat equity into it.
right.
And I mean, me and Robert, both just slaving away, taking extra long days, whether it's a 10, 12 hour days or staying a couple hours later just so we can wrap up a job. And then you know
Sure,
when we do bid jobs, we try to stick with that. I don't The worst thing to me is coming up to a client like, well, we didn't make it in time, we're gonna have to ask for more money, kind of thing. That's something we just don't
yeah,
like to do. We like to keep our bids the same or follow through with our word. Like, we stick to the bid. Like, it falls on us for coming up short, whether we're tired or not. I mean, it's just
sure.
one of those deals. You say you can do something, and it just it all ties back to integrity. We just
Yeah, for sure.
so just me and Robert just sweating it out, probably
Yeah.
doing some damage to our bodies, but
The
happens.
biggest change, yeah, going off that, I mean, the fact that this machine is so much more capable than our 75.2.
Mhm.
We're into forestry mulching now. That's the big difference.
Mm,
Um, I mean, that 75.2 had trouble running a brush cutter.
mhm,
Um, and it just didn't have the flow capacity needed to run it all day and stay cool, which was a
mhm.
problem we had. We also realized that forestry mulching is kind of what people are starting to expect when they think land
Right,
clearing. Um,
right.
it just seems to be a standard now, and we kind of felt like we were falling behind or, just staying afloat, not really getting ahead.
Mm,
Um, and then finally we had a job that was kind of like this broke the camel's back, you know, because we had all these issues with our 75.2. Like the fuel injector went out. I think the fuel water separator, the battery, thermostat, all the, we were
Water
it was
pump.
just throwing, yeah, water pump. It was throwing lights, you know, crazy. And after putting thousands of dollars into it, again, we were like, we need to just sell this now while it's working,
Yeah.
and an upgrade because clearly this is not. We were pushing it, and it's been it's been like a dream. I mean, honestly, this machine can do all of it, and we'll never stop. We won't
Mhm.
grow out of it, I guess. It's a big ass machine.
That's
Um,
awesome.
so the next thing we get will probably be not a skid steer, maybe a dozer even or something
Right.
like that, you know, because the next step up is excavation, proper site prep, I guess, if you want to look at it that way.
Yeah. Interesting. So it sounds like what you're saying is that the rental, because of all the or not the rental, like the well, I guess the rental in your early stage, because of the repairs, you actually were spending more money on a machine that did less than when you bought a larger, more capable machine that didn't have all the repair issues, right?
Yeah, well, the overhead was just a lot more. Yeah. Um,
I'll say this as far as like a testament to like capable machines. So you think about it's not a if something's going to go wrong, it's going to be a win. It's a matter of
Yeah.
when kind of deal. And so the biggest thing that I took into consideration, especially moving into this, machine. Me and Robert both were talking about it. Is, you know, I would say warranty is power when it comes to this kind of
Yeah.
forestry mulching because again, it's a matter of when things go wrong, not if.
Right.
Um, and that's the thing, you buy a used machine, it may have warranty. You may just buy it used outright, and you're just doing parts as is, and you might be, mechanically sound and can fix it yourself, but that's all the time, labor, goes into fixing it versus, whatever
Mhm.
other money expenses you're gonna, put into that versus the warrant is like just cat in general. So cat right now, that was our biggest selling point was they had a really great warranty. They have the field service team that comes out to your site. They can check it, almost same day, if not the very next
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
And even in our case, depending on the severity of the issue, sometimes they'll even bring out a loaner machine just on the house
Oh, yeah.
to keep
Nice.
work going
Yeah,
because
keep going.
some fixes take like a week or two or they're behind whatever it needs to be, and
Yeah.
you buy new and you have all these nice features. They're gonna say, hey, we're not gonna stop your
Yeah.
what's gonna keep you paying the monthly note.
Right,
yeah.
for sure. I like that. What you guys have, I mean, 4 years in or into your 4th year now, clearly you've done some right things, and then you've done some wrong things. Like, in your
Yeah.
1st year, what would you say was your number 1 best right move, and what would you say was your biggest wrong move in year 1?
I know the wrong.
Let's start with the
The,
wrong. Yeah, let's go.
the wrong would be, so I'll say that, so the value of your service.
Mhm,
So it was a kind of a hard balance to be competitive, but also not accepting jobs that you're just going to eat the cost towards the end,
mhm,
whether it's
mhm.
repairs or just job size, whatever it is. Um, we were very good about giving people really good deals or
Mhm.
giving them
Mhm.
extra work for no
Yeah,
expense. And
yeah,
that, and again, it was the nice guy thing to do, whatever you want to call it. It makes you feel good, but that doesn't put food on the table. And I would
for
say
sure.
Yeah.
bidding jobs, especially not having any background in business or going to school for it or anything like that, just kind of starting a company on, you know, just me and Robert having a conversation and doing kind of learning as we went. Bidding was
Mhm.
difficult, and it's kind of who do you ask? We didn't really have a lot of contacts. I knew a few people, and then of course as we stayed in business, we started learning from our mistakes or getting advice from other people and
Yeah.
networking, if you will.
Yeah.
So that bidding jobs too too cheap
Yeah.
was
Mhm.
our
Don't do favors.
yes
Yeah.
It's
the
still hard not to do. Like it's tempting
Right.
sometimes, but the most important thing, like Noah's saying, is you got to make sure you cover your own bases first. Um, afford the job, yes, but also make money. Otherwise,
Yeah.
what's the what's the point?
Yeah, that's the business side for sure, right? Knowing your margins, knowing your profit, figuring out how to price it to do that. Speaking of, that's something that I would say our number one question we get at Blue Goat Land Leads when guys are reaching out are is how do you price? I mean, I talk to guys every day across the nation, and everybody asks that. I've had to start making YouTube videos for it too, just because I'm like, my goodness, the amount of guys asking. So for you guys, how do you bid? Do you do it? Are you doing hourly? Are you doing acre? Are you doing per project? And then why? What's your process and method?
so we started out trying to do an acre rate. Well, so this is moving our towards forestry mulching. So prior to that, it was always a day rate. So we kind
Mhm.
of had our margins set with two general labor guys or guys with chainsaws, a ground guy, and then the cost of machine and operator, and that would kind of just be a package deal. That's what you get for the day rate with attachments included. Um, and that was just standard. What would you pay your employees? What would you pay yourselves? And then cost of fuel for the machine, and
Yeah.
kind of go from there. But now the way we price things, and that's something that me and Robert had always asked, like, how do you price it? How do you make? Because we were
Yeah.
making a profit, doing it, guys with chainsaws, grapple machines, stuff like that. But with the forestry mulching side of things, everybody's pretty, tight niche, and there's a I would say there's an average. Yeah, everybody charges an arbitrary number, but a big piece of advice that I would give to somebody, and this is kind of how we came up with our numbers, was talking to a gentleman, and he said, "You just need to find turnkey uh, your turnkey number." So, how do you
Mhm.
when you turn on that machine? How much does that cost? Right?
Mhm.
Whether you do that for the hour, yeah, day, or whatever, and fuel consumption, and you just itemize everything from maintenance for a day, and you can
Yeah.
break it down that way. Put a percentage on it, how you profit,
Right.
whatever it is. And again, for future maintenance things, like let's say oil changes, filters, and stuff like that. Well, you take that same number to get it to that day rate. So on average, you'll change a machine's oil, 250 hours or 500 hours,
Yeah.
whatever dealer recommends, you take that number and however many hours that equates to, say it's every month kind of thing. You take that number and
Mhm.
you divide it, by 30 days or working days, however you want to do that, and put a tax or a percentage on that. And you just
Yeah.
basically itemize every little detail and you get nitpicky with it. That's what we did. I went down to how many tubes of grease am I going to use a day? How
Mm.
filters,
Yeah.
even let's say till it hits 1,000 hours. You're doing a whole hydraulic
Right.
flush on the machine. But then you bring it all down to what it costs per day, and that's what
Yeah.
we
Your
did.
hard costs. Yeah.
Right, and that's how we were able to price our machine and operator. What is that running?
Right.
And then a profit of that goes to the company as well. So you also have to do that. Like you can pay yourselves, but if you're trying to get your company to grow, you have to have a percentage going back towards the company,
Right.
whether that's for consumables, other repairs, or just rainy day fund.
Yeah. No, that's good. I mean, that's if you think about it, that's how most businesses set up their pricing for a service-based business is going to be what's my hard cost to provide this service, and then what's my profit on top that I want.
Right,
And so I know some industries will go like, the restaurant industry, like 10% profit or less, 6 to 8 or something like that. And then other industries are like, 50% or more. So you
right,
figure out what is your profit that you like. And then you also match that. What do you think the going rate is in the area? And so is your profit now plus your hard costs pricing you out of the market, or is it making you competitive? Right. So now you have hard costs plus profit is your total fee, and is that total fee now within reason and making you competitive or not? And then you can still be a mid-range, high-range company as long as the value is there, right? That you don't we all know, right, in your industry, guys are fighting over price every day to be the lowest. And
Yeah.
we all know, and I say this to guys
Yeah,
too, because even for us, we're not the lowest either in the marketing space. But I tell people, what and they usually they're like, "Well, what's your pricing?" And I'll explain, like, you're going to find someone cheaper, but just know in your industry, should I go with the cheapest guy? And everyone goes, well, no, that guy not insured, doesn't know what he's doing. You're going to get crap
exactly.
Yeah.
communication, right? So positioning yourself as a professional company is okay to ask for a mid range or high range price. And so figuring out what that number is, I would say in my research, I have found because again, it's nationwide that the average day rate is around 2,000 to 3,000 a day, is somewhere in that range on average. Below that is like 1,500 to 2,000 is like competitive, and then below 1,500 below is like cheap.
I,
And then
I,
3,000 above can get, but again, there's some places I've talked to guys who are like, we don't even get in our machine for less than 3,000 a day. And I'm like, yeah, in your area, but then other states, other
yeah.
sections of that state are also going to have even more competitive pricing. So I think the average, tell me if I'm wrong or right. What you think that guys at the
So
on there?
you you're right. So the 2000 number is like that perfect average where you see any if anybody's going to throw an arbitrary number at it, they're going to say I charge
Right,
2,000 a day, right? Before they do
right.
any of the math. And so we thought about, I was like, oh, all right, we could just throw that. And I was like, you know what? Let's break it down. So before I looked at any of those higher scale land clearing companies, I was like, let's figure out what this number is, and then we'll compare and contrast. And so we came up,
Right.
all flat out. So we charge 23.50 a day for that machine, right? And of course, there's
Okay.
delivery fees and stuff like that. But for a day out, there's 23.50, and
Okay.
we looked at some of the other competitors in our area, kind of thing, and they're charging 2,500. And I said, wow, just by doing that, breakdown of everything for, cost of repairs, maintenance, fuel, whatever. I was like, we are under, the bigger companies that, have a name for themselves, have a clientele list,
Yeah.
but we can be competitive with that. And that's,
Right.
and we felt kind of good about that. And I was like, okay, well, I like that. That's what keeps us whole.
Yeah.
And, we found the clients that are actually not window shopping or say I can find it cheaper. The biggest uh, piece of advice, I guess, I wouldn't even call it a piece of advice, but somebody told me this. He said, next time some people says I can find it cheaper, you should ask them, where are they cutting corners?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
your
Exactly.
counter to that, and
Yeah.
it's true, like you were saying. And whenever you said that down to the 1,500, I mean, if you tell me a forestry mulching company is out there charging 1,500 a day, I'd like to
Yeah.
know how well they're doing because
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
rough.
For sure. Yeah, for sure, and that's I think, other than, like, some really rural areas that
Right.
they some of those places, that's a decent rate. But if you're in a competitive market like you guys are and a lot of our clients are, yeah, you could price yourself at that rate, but your profit is very tight, and then probably in order to create wiggle room in your profit, you're gonna cut corners, right?
Yeah.
You're not gonna pay some stuff, you're not gonna the hard costs are gonna shrink down in order to try and free up some profit there. So things like not paying for insurance, right? Not paying for a good rate for your operators, not paying for or getting a smaller machine that takes less fuel and stuff, but now it's
Hmm.
going to take double the time. So we all know, right, in this industry, there are ways you can cut corners, but that's not what your customers want. A commercial contractor, developer, and even your residential homeowner, none of them want that. Like that's not who they're looking to hire. And I think if we're all being honest, we'd all say that. Like we want best quality, we want it done in a timely manner, and we want fantastic communication. Now, what are we willing to pay for that? Right? That's
Yes.
that because you can't get all 3 of those things at a low rate. You just can't. So
So, speaking on that, like me and Robert were kind of curious one day. Just everybody gets, I wouldn't say everybody, but most clients they get real timid when you throw that, that 23.50, 2,000, $2,500 amount with that machine, and like, oh, that's a lot. And then you show them or you tell them, explain to them what you can do in a day with that. And we
yep.
actually went back and we were like, well, our more appealing number for our previous style of land clearing where guys in the, I mean, there's still a time and a place for that. Harsh terrain where you can't really get machines down there.
Right.
But
Right.
we broke those numbers down and we're like, okay, same. We'll call it an acre, right? How long it is going to take to clear an acre with this machine, and how long is it going to take with guys on the ground do that, and then
Right.
still have to go and dispose of it. It costs more to do all of that cutting with chainsaws, consumables, machine,
Yes.
extra bodies to pay for versus this one machine that's knocking out that
Mhm.
acre in damn near a day, depending on how
Right.
dense the
Yeah.
vegetation is. And you're
Right.
like, that cuts off a crew of 3 or 4, and call it 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
And you look at that and you're like, okay, you're saving money in the long run, but it's again it's
Exactly.
that big fixed number that worries
Sticker
people. And then,
shock.
Right.
Yeah.
but then you have some people who've seen it done and they're like, I think that's the trick with it comes to forestry mulching. Forestry mulching is you got to have a neighbor who's had it done, and you're like, whoa,
Right.
that's nice.
Right.
The
Right.
neighbor's like,
Yeah.
who'd you call?
Referrals, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Like, it doesn't matter what they charge. You need to work with those guys because it
yes.
will get done right. It will get done well. It's going to be done in a timely manner. Like all the things we're talking about get done. So yes, absolutely. You don't want to cut corners when it comes to this stuff. So like what is another factor? What factors affect price the most when you guys are walking a property?
Uh, I would say terrain.
Okay.
Because so hill country, right? In the forestry mulching industry, you have the knives, the blades that cut really fine mulch, and then you have
Mhm.
carbide teeth, right?
Mhm.
Obviously, both have different. They produce different types of mulch, right? One's finer than the other. But also, if somebody's trying to get that fine mulch or that fine material, but they have a super crappy rocky property,
Right.
where you have like maybe
Right.
an inch of soil. I mean, not only does it damage teeth, the teeth life go
Mhm.
down, track life go down because you're traversing on rocks. We have that porous, sharp,
Limestone. It's all over the
limestone.
place.
Yeah,
Yeah.
limestone.
It
Yeah.
just cuts tracks. It does, and I
Right.
mean, and that's another rocky terrain. We do actually have, depending on your property, and it's kind of a judgment call on us. I mean, if it's just all we're going to be doing is driving over rocks, there's an extra fee on top of that. So
Right. Right.
and that's what
Yeah,
some
for sure.
people, that's what some guys, that's something we didn't account for whenever we were first. Even just with a grapple, we were like, man, we keep taking these
Yeah.
Yeah.
crappy properties. I mean, they were good jobs. Don't get me wrong, but the terrain was god awful, and we were eating into our track. I remember we finally run our tracks, and you can start seeing the wire. We're like, run them till they fall off, and
Yeah,
then
it's that dang wire.
yeah, we
Oh,
just run them till they fall off, and then
yeah.
we replace the tracks. And after a day of doing that same job, brand new tracks, we're like, it's like somebody took a shotgun to our freaking tracks.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's again, and it's. I mean,
Yeah.
you could be the best operator in the world. Uh, if you're trying to get it done efficiently, like you're just gonna have to sacrifice some
Yeah.
tread.
Yeah. Well, and I think you're probably answering it right now, but my next question was that, like, what costs do most new guys actually forget to consider when they're, like, thinking about,
Yeah.
running numbers and pricing? Like, what do they forget to not like, "Oh, yeah, we didn't think of that."
I would say even fuel consumption. I
Yeah.
mean, that's just
Fuel.
kind of something that you just put a number to the machine and stuff like that, and you forget that hey, that thing takes a lot of diesel.
Yeah.
And
Gotta
Yep.
fill it up.
another thing is too is um, how are you going to have diesel on site? If you're going to be there for several days, I mean, you
Oh,
go
that's
fill
true.
You're gonna go
Yeah.
fill up every day, or are you gonna just get a small little pod? Or, when we were starting out, I mean, we had known that we need fuel on site, and we, pinching pennies together when we were first starting
Yeah.
out. We got these gravity fed fuel
Those
pods,
were
and
terrible. They're
and
Yeah.
that's
so slow. They're really bad.
and,
Just
and yeah, using those aren't any benefit either because it takes 30 minutes to fill up your tank. That's 30 minutes of
Yeah.
operating you could have had
That's
working.
true. Yeah.
yeah.
So, just ways to get fuel,
Yeah.
when is track, oh, I'll tell you what you forget. When a track slips off, how you going to get that track back on?
Yeah.
That's
Uh,
throwing a track. I mean,
you mean it doesn't just take a Phillips screwdriver?
oh God, no, it doesn't. So, there's several ways to do it, but I would say biggest piece of advice, and, some people might have, other tricks up their sleeve, but, a couple of rock bars, that would be beneficial just to, and a grease gun. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I was going to say, and don't do the manual one too, filling up a track with the manual, grease
Oh.
Oh,
gun.
that
Talk
hurts.
about,
Yeah.
if you want Popeye forearms, go ahead, but get you a
I
battery powered
do.
one, and there's a lot of cool things. People have invented everything nowadays. You can make
Yeah.
life easy, and trust me, it does. When things go wrong, because they will, having things that can get you back up efficiently is like key. And we've
Yeah.
found that out the hard way, and we're
Right.
enjoying all the cool tools we have now.
So we had a guest who did 20 million a year, multiple crews going in different directions, and he was telling us when we interviewed him that they have a sprinter van full of a couple guys that just drive around the different crews because of the amount of stuff that they don't like think that they need and how much time and money it would cost for their guys to like drive back and forth to different shops or
Yeah.
stores. And so these guys just load up a bunch of random materials and items they're going to need and they just drive around and hit up each crew like what do you need now, next crew, what do you need now. So like who thinks about hiring staff and buying a van and buying all the spare parts just to be driving around, like that. Think about that cost on your line item. So
Yeah.
I think there's a number of things that you guys have to consider, right? When thinking about, what are your true costs and when you're thinking about your pricing.
So speaking of that too, just kind of something that I just remember too. It's you know, a lot of these machines and implements they run off of you know hydraulic oil, which
Mm-hmm.
to get power, a lot of hydraulic hoses which are exposed.
Yeah.
So another thing that and this was back working with that other company when me and Robert were there. We would never have this, but we would always suggest it. It was hey, let's have if we're gonna go buy extra hydraulic hoses for a grapple, let's buy some extra because we know they pop, we know they bust,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
but we'd never you know get the thumbs up to use a company card to go and do that. So we're like, okay, well,
Yeah.
so when a hose goes down, well, that's it for the
Yeah.
day.
Right. No, totally makes sense. Thanks for sharing that. I mean, because this is the stuff that's really helpful for people that are either just getting in or about a year into trying to think through, all right, how do we scale this thing and be thinking about additional costs.
Yeah.
So another question I kind of have for you guys is like what is like your most profitable service right now? And then what's the job that you guys or others look at that looks good but actually loses money? Like show like the best kind and then the lowest kind.
Well, our
Mm.
highest is the forestry mulching. That one's
Okay.
you know
Yeah.
Yeah. Hands down.
I mean
Yeah.
that because all you got to do. I mean, you don't really have crews running around while that thing's
Right.
in operation. So that's kind of like a one man show. It's flinging tree bits everywhere, rocks, you name it, whatever material that
Mhm.
you're
Mhm.
it's throwing. So that's kind of like a let it do its thing to come back and trim. Make
Right.
trees pretty. We'll come back and do that after it's done, and then it can do another pass through
Right.
it afterwards.
Right.
I don't know, Robert. Like,
Something that I feel like we have learned doing. We don't do this as often, but some demolition jobs. Um,
Mm.
you need to anytime there's haul off involved, you need to make sure the client, whoever it is ready to pay for additional haul off. If you tell them
Uh,
it's going to take X amount of dumpsters and then it takes more, you have to eat
mhm.
all of that because you put yourself in a
Yeah.
corner. So that is one big thing to just make explicitly clear in whatever contract you have them sign. Um, here's our projection.
Yeah.
Um, and if it costs more, we're going to give you tickets. Here's our markup, whatever. Just
Yeah.
because that can come back very quickly to bite you in the butt. And we've had to.
a learning
I mean,
curve.
break.
Yeah.
Sometimes we've broken even on jobs by doing that to
Yeah.
ourselves in different capacity. And it goes back to the whole doing favors thing. Maybe at some points it would have been smarter to rebid. And maybe it was a point of pride for us, the integrity thing,
Yeah.
not doing that.
Yeah.
But just to avoid it altogether, account for that in your
Yeah.
contract, whatever you have them sign, and just make sure
Yeah.
they know it's a possibility. Because it's hard to know sometimes what direction a job will go in. You can't account for everything. As
Right.
thorough as you are, and as many things as you think you might be ready for, there's probably going to be at least one surprise. It's just,
Yeah.
it'll happen.
Yeah, it makes sense. We got some of our clients that demo is their like demo and junk removal, which go hand in hand for these guys, right?
Bread
Because
and
they're like,
butter.
we already own the dumpsters, we already have like we know how much a dumpster is going to cost us,
Yeah,
and it just comes down to specializing, right? Like,
right.
you can be a jack of all trades, you can make it work, but when you really start to learn your primary service, it's like your
Hmm.
costs. You can look at a project, and go, all right, we've done this 100 times. We already know what this thing's going to do. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've got a few guys that have been trying to make the move into some of those others, or we've got others who've been doing demo who are trying to get into forestry mulching. And
Oh,
I think they have the same problem where they're like, well, what machine now do I need for this? And how do I mulch it? Do I burn it? Do I haul it off? And all those same things. So
yeah.
totally get that. So you guys mentioned earlier, no, you had said, we started working together doing some marketing and stuff. So how does marketing fit into this whole picture of growing your company, thinking through like costs and profit and things like that? Like where would you place your marketing in that?
Uh, I mean, marketing wise, I'm trying to think because right now the marketing tool, I don't feel like that's a cost that goes. And again, somebody might criticize me for this, some other company, but I don't think that falls on clients paying for marketing kind of thing because you know that's a service you get in order to award yourself more jobs.
Yeah.
Now if it's insurance, I see that as something that a client can then couple dollars into the cost for that because you're paying for my service to come out here to know that you're insured. I mean, it's like if you paid insurance on your vehicle, you're still paying it for the
Right.
if or when something happens to your
Right.
vehicle. So
Security.
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
a security piece. Um,
Yeah. I call it an expenditure. Like it's
right,
it's just going to go out. There's no return on that
right.
expenditure or return on that investment.
Now, for marketing, and at least for us, and again, the way we see it, and again, some other businessman is going to tell me something else probably. I don't know, but that's not something I think we throw towards the clients just because again it's in our benefit. We're marketing
Right.
to get you to call us or us to potentially throw a bid towards you and be able to win your job. And that's a because if it wasn't for us paying for it, we'd have to go and market kind of for ourselves. And again, of course, other companies will have the scale and the know how to do it versus us just going and knocking on doors. But again, I'm
Hmm.
not going to charge somebody for going to knock on a door or getting a referral from somebody. In fact, if I got a
Yeah.
referral from somebody, whoever that referral was, like, hey, here's a cool little finder's fee. Thanks for
Yeah.
find more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. We've even in our industry, like we love referrals, right? We get
Right.
them regularly, but referrals and word of mouth are super inconsistent. They're hard to scale and really count on, because you may have like one month where it's like, man, we got 5 referrals, that was awesome, and then the next 2 months you get nothing.
Yeah.
You're like, wait a minute, I thought we were trying to grow here. So the inconsistency is always a mess there versus the marketing. But with marketing, something I tell a lot of guys is it should be a return on investment. It's an investment, right? So like what you're saying, to your point, it's not just a random expenditure unless your marketing just stinks. Then yes, but if you're doing it right, it should be producing a return. And so there's not necessarily a hard cost to pass along to clients because there's not a cost expenditure going out if you're getting a return. So for every dollar spent in marketing, are we getting 3, 5, 8, 10 plus X return on investment? Then it's different than your fuel costs and stuff like that, right?
Right. And since we got with y'all with Blue Goat Land Leads, I mean, that was recommended to us by another land clearing company.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the guy we bought, our skid steer from, he was like, "Hey, you should try these guys out. Here's a number,
Nice.
call." And so we did. And he was like, "We've dealt with it before." Um, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely a good. I mean, you know, the price of these leads, I don't know how you come up with it, but I mean, one day, if we get out there for one day, that pays for a month.
Right. Right.
Already just one day, and that's it. And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and still with some change left over. And in fact, that actually
Yeah.
pays for the fuel and out there for the whole day. We get a couple
Yeah.
throughout a month. That just starts going into profit or machine note, whatever it else.
Right.
So yeah, I mean,
Right.
it's definitely worth it in my opinion. Oh, sorry, the right
Awesome.
marketing team.
Okay, there you go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Not any, but the right kind.
correct.
Well, and you guys, I know we started working with you guys, and we've been doing lead generation with your own assets, which makes us pretty different from lead sellers, right? Lead sellers will run their own Facebook ads and stuff like that, and then they'll funnel you the lead, and they charge you per lead. Whereas what we're trying to do is we've built out multiple marketing channels that you own that have your name and brand on it, from web design to ads to SEO. And so when people find you, they're not finding Blue Goat, they're finding you guys, right? So what would you say? Where's the value in that? Like, if you're talking to a guy who's considering, like, all right, I'm just getting into marketing and I keep seeing I can buy leads from Angie's or the random forestry mulching lead seller guy, what would you tell them versus paying for full blown marketing?
I tell you, you're wasting your money. So I'm very, very passionate about the way I feel about this. And I think
Yeah,
Robert
we both are.
does
Me
too.
too.
Yes.
Because we've used Angi leads, we've used Ollie Town Square. Town Square is probably one of they're probably all the worst mistakes. They're there to get a number for you to pay for a couple months, whether it's 1, 2, or 3, and you don't see any kind of change. Nothing. I mean, it could be even no call. They cut you out cold, and you're trying to, like, hey, is there any update on how things are working in SEO?
Mhm.
And it takes a whole month for them just to reach back out to you. Well, you've already paid for that month. I mean,
Yeah.
they're so big that they just want you to pay for a couple months, and they'll move on to the next starting company. And that's all it
Right.
is. You're not. I can Angie leads in particular. I remember you pay by lead, and we paid for a
Yeah.
lead. It was 55 some odd dollars for this lead. I was like, okay.
Right.
Get the person's contact and give him a call. He said, "Yeah, hey, I got this tree. Called it a tree. First off,
Hmm.
about an inch, 2 inches in diameter. What would you charge to come out here and get this one tree?" And I said, "You can get your nephew, son, cousin,
Hmm.
your neighbor, maybe buy,
Your tree guy,
yeah,
you know?
some loppers at Home Depot, and you can do it yourself." Because
Yeah.
and I was like, a $55 lead. Are you kidding me? I paid that. I
Yeah.
mean, it probably cost more just to call him on the phone for that,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so me and Robert both were just like, why are we wasting this money? And of course,
Right.
we got the recommendation, for y'all, and we like, you know what? I mean, just hear them out. A land clearing company's loving them, and of course, I've heard
Yeah.
who y'all work with, and I was like, well, I know they're doing good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Sure.
there's gotta be a reason, and of course, speaking of price, and y'all told us the price. We're like, okay, I mean, that sounds more reasonable. That you get with Angie Lee, Ollie, and Town Square, and I don't know how they do this, because y'all stuck. You're like, the price is this. There's no, unless you buy for several months.
Yeah.
That's the only discount you get. The price is what it is. How
Yeah.
those other companies can say, hey, we start out at $500, and you're like, nah, that's too much. Like, well, actually, we're having a sale. It's $400, and you keep saying no,
Yeah.
and
Start
you talk them
down,
all,
down, down.
Yeah.
all the way down to $100, and you're like, how do you
Yeah.
come down 80%? and say that's our term for life. We just
Right.
need to pay.
Right.
Yeah, I was like, okay,
Yeah. It's all about price then. It's really not about value.
no,
So,
you're a number.
again, it's different. Oh, for sure. Well, how's it been working with us? Like, if you don't mind me asking, like, what kind of return on investment have you guys gotten
uh,
working with us? I hope that's a good
yes,
noise you're
oh my
making.
gosh, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, those. Like I said, I was very passionate about how I feel about those other companies. I downright hate them. This,
Yeah.
you know, for what it's valued at, it is well worth it. I
Awesome.
100%. I would anybody starting out, whether you're paying more money on your machines, anything like that, you got to have jobs. So put that investment into the marketing, because once you start having jobs come in, everything else is going to be easy to pay for.
Mm,
So
yeah.
I would 100%
Awesome.
recommend Blue Goat to
Oh, thanks.
any other start. If somebody's, in fact, I'm recommending y'all to have a buddy in Louisiana who's like, hey, what do I
Oh,
got to
nice.
do? And I'm telling him all the ins and outs because he's not really competition. He's in Louisiana. And I was like, if you really want to get going, talk to these
I
guys.
Get
love
with
it.
these guys. Yeah.
So,
I love it. Yeah, you guys were referred, and now y'all are referring. Man, I love
I
that.
mean,
That's awesome.
because, so, what do you say the average to see in SEO? 6 months of paying for progress?
National average is like 6 to 12
Okay.
months. I think ours is around 3 months
So I was about
on
to
the S.
say,
Yeah.
the first month, the first month moving into the second month, we saw progress. I mean,
Mm.
our phone now, even, I mean, so what is this? We're starting to go into our fourth month. We just finished our
Yeah.
third. I mean, every time we're on a job site, Robert's having to go stop and take a phone call. I'll have to shut down the machine to take a phone call. It's just,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
phone's ringing, and it's not some, excuse my French, some bullshit call.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah. Yeah.
an actual, potential client who's like, hey, I'm in need of this service. Can y'all do it? And we've had,
Yeah.
in the past 3 months, more meetings scheduled than we've had the past several years. You know,
Oh,
uh,
man. That's awesome.
some people say it's like, oh, well, you're moving on to, you finish your third year. It's like, that's the first hump. Now you got to make it past year 5. I was like, this didn't happen until we, start working with the Blue Goat. So
Awesome. Man, I love that. That's so good to hear. And that's what we love doing. Like we hired 2 new employees this month, and we've been going through a lot of training and stuff. And that's part of what we've been talking about is we kind of created a motto around here that we don't win unless our clients win. Like, you guys need to win. Like, that's why we exist, is to help you grow and scale your company. So I love what you guys have done so far and what you are doing. I think I saw when I was looking earlier today that y'all had like over 100 leads this month
God,
alone,
there's a lot
and,
coming in.
and I was like, I know, and I was like, man, that's great, good
yeah.
for them. So, yeah, we want to keep seeing you guys scale and grow. And so that leads me to then kind of my next thought, and we're going to wrap it up here shortly. But like, where do we go from here? What are you guys wanting to do with your own business? How do you keep growing your company, not just from lead flow and sales, but what does it look like internally for you guys?
That's a good question. We're so used to operating just the two of us. We're a
Yeah.
two-man team. We've done subcontracting before, and I guess a good piece of advice we got that we still, I think, are trying to adhere to is when you feel that you're so busy you can't handle, you can't keep up. That's when you look to hiring a full-time employee or someone who can take that
Right.
load off you. And we're not quite there yet, but we're getting closer. I mean, this past month has been super hectic. Like, it's been difficult to balance our schedule,
Mhm. Yeah.
which is great. It's an awesome problem to have, and we've been so
Yeah.
busy. Um, but I think that's something we're still learning. We don't have an exact plan of attack quite
Okay.
yet, but
I was gonna
Yeah.
say, I guess another thing on top of employees, and yeah, Robert's like, was saying, not hiring until we feel overwhelmed and we can't keep up. And I mean, and I guess what that allows us to do is, if we're so preoccupied doing the jobs and we can't go, do another client visit in a timely manner, who else is gonna come in and kind of take that lead. So
Yeah.
that's another benefit to hiring once we get to that stage. But another thing is we're starting to do a little bit more commercial, where we're starting to put bids in for more city work, and so these are having to pull
Yeah.
permits,
Yeah,
and this is kind of a new step for us, and it's a good leap because
that's true. Yeah.
you know another piece of advice that we were given is he's like, you need to find, when it comes to city and county jobs, you need to find maintenance cost. Maintenance cost is key because that's
Yeah.
never going to stop, and also just kind of getting your name out there. If we can land this one job in San Antonio that's for a commercial site, now our name's in the hat. Like, hey, they did it well. Bad Hog can do commercial sites now, not just residential or
Yeah.
private property owners.
Yep.
So, that's kind of a
Yep.
new step that's ongoing currently.
Yeah. And then figuring out logistically, how do we tackle that?
Yes, help us with
Yeah.
it.
Right.
Kind of
Found
Yeah, we
the
out.
just had one of our clients just got it, and it's the first for us too. I've been doing this for 10 years. He just got a lead that he's bidding for $100 million.
Oh,
whoa.
yeah.
Yeah, nine figure. He reported back. He's like, it's a big bid. I'm spending some time working on this, but it's a full, like, they're going to do all the land forestry mulching. It's like hundreds of acres,
Holy
and then they've got
crap.
site prep stuff they're going to be doing, and it's a big commercial project. I think it's out in Kansas,
Okay.
but yeah, like, but imagine that, right? Like, so you can almost imagine, like, what would $100 million project, like, yes, we would all love to win that dollar amount, but then the next thought is, oh crap,
Yeah, you're
how do
responsible for
we
that.
fulfill that? How do we do that in a timely manner with what we have and the crews that we need? And so yeah, everybody has like a stage, right, where it's like, okay, we could do this, but we can't quite do this yet. And so how do we get to that point, and when is it time to make some changes or additions or buy what we need to buy in order to make that jump to the next stage? And so yeah, I think that's going to be the challenge, I think, for you guys too, is just thinking through, all right, what does that stage look like, and in terms of our business, how do we facilitate that and structure that to be able to do some more, as those bigger jobs come down the pipe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say with that too, like growing out of from residential private property owner to going to commercial, whatever. Your biggest friends, and I got fortunate that one of my buddies in high school, he's the one who works for Cat, so he's kind of like our end. But
Mhm.
man, be really good friends with your sales rep because for
Yeah.
your machines, because all they
They
talk
know people.
they talk to everybody, and it doesn't matter what kind of construction they're in, land clearing, concrete, you know,
Yeah.
private home build. I mean, they know people, and if you want
Yeah.
contacts to like get a job, like, hey, I need help outsourcing this. I need help figuring out how do I figure out how much material is going to need to be removed and hauled
Yeah.
off, and how many trucks I'm going to need. They know people, and it just make that person your best friend.
Oh, yeah. We've heard that from at least 2, 3 of our
Yeah,
guests on the podcast, but they're like, "Get to know that guy." Like, that's who you
that's
wanna
all they
know.
do. Their job is to sell machines to
Yeah.
people who are doing the work, and they have to
Mhm.
know the
Yeah, I
work to
love
sell you
that.
the right machine, so they get repeat
Yeah.
customers.
Yeah, for sure. Good advice.
So
Alright, last big question. I mean, this is a big one. You ready? Like, this one's deep, real deep.
Okay.
What's the craziest, wildest, funniest thing you've seen on a job site? Okay, it wasn't that deep. It wasn't that deep. I misled you.
um, for me, it was being chased by a colony of like ground nesting bees.
Oh, no.
That was horrible. That was.
all right.
I don't remember what happened, but I was. I have never moved faster in my life.
Yeah.
I can
Those are
laugh
those
about it
moments I'm
now.
like, "Man, I wish we had video. I wish we
Yeah.
could just record that and play it back over and over."
Uh,
I love it.
that's funny.
Noah, what about you?
Well, I don't know if I'll leave the name out, so he won't know. But Robert, I'm surprised you didn't say this, but one of the guys we used to work with, he also so we've subbed him out a few times. We've also used to work with him at that other company as well, but
Uh,
caught him taking a skid steer out into the woods on a job site. For some odd reason, you just see him hanging on the grapple of the bucket, pants down, bare butt, And you're like, what are you doing? He comes like, oh,
What?
I was just sending pictures to my girlfriend.
No way.
Out
On a job site too?
is the land clearing just out in the middle of the woods, just like 70 something
Oh.
acres. But you see, you're like, what? What am I watching? You think,
Is the client paying for that too? Is
of
that
course,
is that time going to be included in our
That
fee?
that's
is
all.
not billable time. That is absolutely not billable time.
Golly.
Yes,
Oh my
Some
god, I
guys.
forgot about
Some
that.
guys.
yes, that's funny. To which he would, also say, "Take a look at this. Take a look at this snake I found," because I'm real into like catching critters or whatever. Just
Oh,
be his
that's
bare butt,
right.
and you're like, "Oh my god."
Oh gosh. No, actually, you saying the snake thing made me think one of our guys, his wildest moment, he was mulching something, and a pit of snakes like all went flying through the air on top of the machine.
Oh
We're
my
like slithering down
gosh.
and stuff. And he was trying to figure out how to get out of the cab without them falling on him and freaked
Oh
out.
god,
That's
yeah, that's
crazy.
wild.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm like, yeah, I'm cool with bees chasing me. I mean, I don't want that, but if I had to choose
Yeah,
between a bunch of snakes on me and that, I'll go
I'll take
bees.
the bees too, yeah. That's
Yeah,
like stuff
for
out of a
sure.
nightmare right there. Snakes flying at you? Are
Right.
you kidding me? No
Right.
way.
Awesome. Well, as we finish up, guys, tell us, how do we find you? Like, what's your social media? What's your website? I mean, we built it, but I'm gonna let you say
Okay.
it.
Our Facebook is not as active as it should be. I'll be honest. I mean, we're so busy. We don't have
Time
anyone
to
to
work on
manage
it.
it for us. But it's
Man,
Bad
we even
Hog.
provide you tools.
What's that?
We even provide you tools to help you manage your
I
Facebook. Come
know.
on.
We just
We got,
yeah.
we're gonna have a meeting after this podcast. We got to work on that.
Okay. Yeah. We're running around like crazy. It's just finding
Yeah,
time to make posts, and it's the smallest thing too. You get
totally.
caught
Yep.
up doing the work. But
Yep.
yeah, badhoglandclearing.com,
Okay.
and on Facebook too. That's really, we only have one social media.
Yeah.
So two places you can find us. Look for
Cool.
us.
Cool. Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys. Well, thank y'all for being on. It's been a pleasure. I enjoy working with you guys. Our team enjoys working with you guys, and I knew you guys had some value to share tonight, and I think you did. I'm looking forward to this going out because I think it's going to help a lot of guys. Now I can say when people ask pricing questions, "Hey, we have a video with some guys who are doing it. Go watch the video. They'll teach you." So that's a huge resource to our people. So appreciate it so much.
Because
Of
I
course.
think everybody's just they find out the price and like, oh, don't share it with nobody. It's like they're gonna find out
Yeah,
eventually. Just
yeah.
it's not.
Yeah.
You can find the value
Well,
of
and
something.
why the price, right? What's the value for the price? Why are we actually charging that? Who made up a random number of 2,000 to 3,000, right?
Right.
Right.
If it weren't for what are the actual margins there? Like you got to know your numbers. And so, yeah, I think this has been helpful. And I like what you said, Noah, like figuring out what's the cost to turn the machine on, right? And then all the stuff associated with it, and then figure out your profit margin on top of that, but provide value.
Yeah.
So, man, that's good stuff. All right, guys, I'll let y'all go. Everybody else, thanks for watching and listening. Make sure you subscribe to us on our YouTube channel. Subscribe to us on all the podcast channels, wherever you guys are listening. And that way, when we have more of these popping up, that you guys will get a notification. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you next time. All right, bye.